Everything does. Yeah, I mean, even after the Vultures started, I took a couple of weeks off and went to play with the Merce Cunningham Dance Company in New York. And in fact, we're doing 6 shows in the Barbican in London this week, which is basically using bass guitar. We were on this huge sculpture, so it's like 20-foot metal sculpture on stage. With Sonic Youth took the bottom 2 rungs, I was on the next one, and then there's a guy called, oh, sorry, Kasugi, boom, Kasugi on the top, playing, doing live electronics. And I was doing bass guitar, but with the Kima system, which is a computer system which completely processes everything, and I mean, it doesn't even sound like a bass guitar most of the time, but it's a system that I program myself and do stuff on. And so yeah, everything feeds everything else, basically. You know, my rock stuff feeds that, and then that'll feed something else, and then it'll end up as bluegrass. Well, sometimes I'll just sit at an instrument and just fool around till something sounds good, and then I'll develop it, record it quickly, and then develop it. Sometimes I go for a walk, which is my favourite way of writing is actually to take a piece of little pad, manuscript pad, and or maybe a recorder sometimes, but I like to get notes down. I like to get an original idea down. If you can get it down as accurately as possible, it usually is the best one. And so I'll go for a long walk and take a pad and paper and get an idea down, and then come back to the studio and try and learn it, which is is sometimes more problematical, because invariably I'll write something I can't play, and so then I just have to figure it out. I mean, in the Zeppelin days, Black Dog was written like that, on a train, with a piece of paper, and a notation system that my dad showed me, where you use the values of the notes and you just put little numbers underneath, like 1 to 7 for the scale, and plus and minus for flat and sharp, and sharp flat, and just write it out, and then come back and figure it out, and then put it down on disc these days, tape in those days, and build it up, keep a library of bits and pieces, and that was good, yeah, that'll fit with that, and fit it all together. Or if I'm writing with other musicians, we'll come in with ideas. With the Vultures, we were all in the studio, and basically somebody would start on something and go, oh yeah, I should maybe go this way, how about this bit, and put it all together. It's a nice organic process, it keeps moving, it's nice. Yeah, about 6 years ago, I went to see a bluegrass band that came to England, and then I was talking to the mandolin player and was just talking about stuff, and he said there's a great young kid in the States in a band called Nickel Creek called Chris Thiele. And so I kind of Googled it and found him, and then found that they were coming to England, and went down, and they were playing down the Borderline Club in London, which is, holds 100 people maybe. And Nickel Creek were playing there, and so I introduced myself afterwards. Thiele did a great double take, Hi, I'm John Paul Jones. He went, hi, hi there, and found out they were all Zeppelin fans, as is most of the bluegrass world, I found, which is great. And we got friendly, and I then went to Merlefest, just met all these people, and it's just amazing, this whole community of really nice people who just, all they want to do is play music, I said, yes, fantastic. And then after that, Chris called me up and said, we're going to form a band called the Mutual Admiration Society, which was basically Nickel Creek, bass and drums, and Glenn Phillips from Toad the Wet Sprocket singing. And so I went on the road with them for a month, on the bus with the kids, me and Pete Thomas on drums, and it kind of went on from there. And so a couple of years later, I saw them in Cambridge, and they said they were going to maybe wind down a bit, and Sarah wanted to do a solo record. So I just said to her, if you make a solo record and I'm not producing it, I'll never speak to you again. So that kind of convinced her, I think. She obviously wanted to keep up the relationship, thank goodness. Well, I did say to Chris, I didn't, I hope if she doesn't want to use me, tell her it's okay, like I will speak to her. But, it worked out really well, and she was fantastic. She's a great singer, fiddle player, and got a bunch of really good people together, and made the record in Los Angeles and then half in Nashville, mixed in Nashville. So I'm really proud of it. The process of music is from brain to somebody's ear, basically. And the less that gets in the way of that little journey, the better, And it's brain to fingers, so you got to get your fingers in good shape and responsive. And then the strings are the link between you and the guitar, or the instrument. And if they're slowing you up, or giving you too much friction, or impeding you anyway, it's something you gotta get over. And I first came to Elixir Strings from Chris Thiele. When I went to, I did the Mutual Admiration Society tour. There was one number I did, which I did an instrumental version of Going to California with Sean Watkins, just mandolin and guitar. And so Chris said, try these strings. Okay. Because I figure, that's a little side thing. I use the pick he uses, I use the strings he uses, right? And it's not because I'm going to sound like him, but I figure he's a mandolin player. That's all he does. But, that's that's what he's done most of. It's not all he does. Obviously, he's a composer and everything. And I thought he's probably figured out the best strings and the best pick to use, right? I don't have to try every pick and all sets of strings to figure out that. I can ask him, and it's probably a damn good start. If it doesn't work for me, then I can change it or refine it or whatever. But I tried the strings and I thought, this is great. My fingers do not stick every now and again, and I just go, I go over something, and I don't have to change them all the time, to keep them fresh. They last forever. Well, not forever, but for a long time, much longer than a regular set of strings. And so it was, not to diminish them, but they were one less thing to think about and to get in the way, And so I started, I used the same gauge. We talked about string gauges, and he has ideas about string gauges, and I kind of followed those ideas too, thinking, well, he's probably figured it out. And he had. And so we used the same gauge. And then Elixir sent me some bass strings, and we'll try these. I went, oh, okay. And sure enough, they do for me what the mandolin strings do. They just don't get in the way at all. And they always sound fresh, Hugh loves them because he doesn't have to change them so many times. And, they stand up to it. But basically, I just like that kind of slick feeling about them. And I can move quickly. Again, there's less friction, so they just don't get in the way. And they sound great, so I have no problem with them at all. That's a really good question. Keep doing stuff. It's not that I get bored. I just find it limiting to do the same thing for a long time, whatever it is. I just like to keep. There's so much out there. There's so much to do. As far as playing a lot of instruments, I realise that I can't play all the instruments I like to play. Every time I hear something new, I want to go out, get it, and play it and learn it, And so in the end, I became an arranger, so I can at least write for people who can play, or a composer. I can do that. But I don't really care how I make music, as long as I make music. People say, well, is the blues where your heart is? My heart's there, sure. And classical music, yeah, my heart's there too. Bluegrass, of course. Rock, yeah. It's music. My heart's in music. It doesn't really matter what type of music it is.